Hello and welcome back to Forts, where today we're kicking off with another round of the Forts Pro League. Here we have on the left hand side, it is Team Fanfreluche playing as the Warthog Commander. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this team progresses, just because their name is so much fun to say. We have Spaghetti and Kuba getting real dangly with their forts here. It's a little concerning, but, well, we see this kind of thing all the time, as they're playing against their opponents on the right-hand side in the red, Team Die Salzwache. They're playing as the Armadillo Commander, so they might get a little bit more defensive with things. Similarly spindly and dangly bases on all fields here. So, this is going to be an interesting one, I think, mostly because these players are, well, they're kind of experienced. We can get all kinds of things going on here. Liduricane and Hacktony for Team Die Salzwache are, well, they're going for, I'm going to describe it as a later game strategy. We do see a focus on economy over technology compared to, well, their opponents here, which are focusing on, I don't really know what to describe them focusing on, because we see an upgrade center instead of a heavy weapons tech, and they've got a pretty heavy focus on bases, you know, sandbags here, which is just, I don't know what to say about this one. I'm expecting to get a heavy weapons tech right here in just a moment out of Cuba. Okay, so it will be laser beams. Ah, that's what it is. A swarm missile rush. That's gonna be, okay, so there's gonna be portal swarms with lasers. Not at all surprised to see the buzzsaw here, because clearly Spaghetti and Fanfreluche generally are getting quite risky with their placements of the base, because they keep selling off. They do it. This is like armadillo levels of selling all of their internals. We do see the token EMP out of Team Die Salzwache, so that's gonna be slapping Fanfreluche. I appreciate selling off the turbines in front, preemptively getting rid of those before they become too much of a liability. We will see a howitzer played out of Liduricane here. It's gonna be placed in the standard howitzer position, the meta strat. And there's the EMP launch. And it's a hit. A couple mines and a turbine shutdown. Nothing critical just yet, but then again, EMPs very rarely ever do anything critical. They're more annoying than anything else. Especially when they're, you know, shutting down the entirety of your income, your metal income for 10 seconds. That's just fairly substantial damage dealt. We do see the double nuke upgrade out of Fanfreluche, so this will be a nuke rush, not even going with the more consistent but less damaging swarm missile nuke combination. And we might see some sniper and sniper violence out of Spaghetti, between Spaghetti and Liduricane. Once the snipers come out, the EMP is limited in its lifespan. Oh, that's an interesting howitzer position. So typically you see the howitzer placed up here. Oh, he's going with a double howitzer? Okay. Well, you don't often see that. Usually I see a second howitzer placed below the core, but he's really just shoving it in there. So that's an interesting one. Like it's either below the core or just in the back here, kind of where these two are, and shoved out the front, but just really jamming it in there. Very space efficient, very explosive, to put it nicely. And there goes the EMP, a beautiful headshot, just snaking in across the top there. The internal explosion of the EMP actually does knock out the progress on the plasma beam for but a moment. That will help with Fanfreluche catching up in progress here. The nuke's launch, which is a nice and early launch. No defense is ready for it. Looks like Team Die Salzwache is going for the face tanking strategy. Quite a popular and very effective way of defeating nukes is just don't defend against them, not meaningfully at least. or should I say, not directly. Instead, you just let them slap into your base, and you just make sure that your base is made out of easily replaceable components. It is the most consistent way to defend against the nukes. You don't have to worry about losing something important, but that does also require that you not have important things visible where they can be nuked. Something like Hack-Tony here, it doesn't have that as an option. As such, he's going to be using the... Ooh. I was about to say, he's just going to use the plasma to burn the nuke out of the air, but that didn't happen. Instead, Liduricane's getting a bit of a trunk. Just an extrusion down below, trying to defend his teammate from, well, getting blasted. On the other hand, Liduricane's got his howitzer online. With howitzer online comes potential game-ending damage, especially with... So the place the howitzer is going to be aiming for is right here. You know, right next to where this battery is. It's... Oh, that machine gunner just saved the day. Although realistically, I don't think it would have eliminated Spaghetti. It was a little bit too low, but that would still have been a lot of damage. Buzzsaw to destroy the extrusion. And I'm kind of expecting to see the missiles launch here. Now that the extrusion is no longer present. Oof. Losing the sniper means those nukes can't fire. God, I'm looking at that skill gap in Kuba's base, and it's just right there. Plasma strong enough to just hard penetrate through the doors. But look at the core. It's just... There's a direct line of sight. Now, no player has any angle on that core, so it's not an immediate danger, but there are ways of taking advantage of that kind of gap. And there's the double nuke. Pretty heavy hit, a lot of damage, but it is all simply wooden structure, so nothing critical is lost. Now that's a good laser beam. Taking out a mine as well, that's how you want to do it. It's just unfortunate for Team Salzburg that it didn't quite penetrate all the way through the mines. Had just enough defenses to protect all the mines, but, well, one of them was lost. Now, here comes the question. Who's going to get the next massive hit? With double nuke on the board, well, double nuke can just end the game directly. He's gonna plasma it just immediately. Yeah, okay. Solve that problem real quick. As I was saying, with double nuke on the board, they can just kind of end the game immediately. But also, double nukes, as you can see, can just be shot down, and then there's no damage. If they don't do damage, if they don't hit, if they don't make it across the map. Whereas something like this cannon is guaranteed to make it across the map and guaranteed to do damage, and it can do a lot of damage. Now, it does look like Team Fanfalinci is getting set up with energy shields in the most important of regions, at least enough to protect the game-winning shots for at least most of their spots. Kuba still can get door snipe, still can have his weapons platform shot off, and that can be near game-winning. But the most important things, like the mines as well as the core, are completely shut down and well defended. Oof! Well, you see, that's what I was talking about. Right there. This can get shot off. Oh, so close, so far away. He tried to save it, but it was too much, and it comes crumbling down. Well, losing those weapons means Team Fanfalinci is going to be on the back foot for a while. It's not game over. They still have the ability to rebuild and such. It's just the lack of pressure means Team Die Salzwerke is going to have plenty of opportunities to lay on the hurt and potentially snowball their way to victory here in round 1. This buzzsaw is just scary. I am curious and interested to see the Magna Beam there. I'm not sure what they're planning to do with that. These Magna Beams work with... They work with kinetic weapons like the cannons and such. And, well, the Hurricane already has good angles to hit Fanfalinci generally, like pretty much anyone he wants. So I'm not sure what the goal is with the Magna Beam, aside from potentially style points. Style points, always the best kind of points. Also, we haven't seen the Hurricane actually fire the howitzer for a minute, which doesn't surprise me because Fanfalinci has enough anti-air to consistently shut it down. I'm just surprised that they haven't done more to counteract that anti-air supremacy, that general map control that Fanfalinci seems to be exerting. There's a whole lot of like posturing and just general progression without much pressure added on either side, which I do believe favors Team Die Salzwerke, as Salzwerke is upgrading their mines and generally progressing their base, like ramping up the damage and such. Also, just using the flak to airburst and splash onto the core. I love to see it. It's not doing much damage because it's a flak, but it is doing damage, which is, you know, a good way of getting ahead. And also annoying your opponent, which is the most important thing. Another slap with the cannon. I do like the Hurricane adding in additional cannons here, because the cannons are able to guarantee damage, which will put Fanfalinci, well, into debt at some point. Yeah, look at this. We have upgraded mines, upgraded turbines, additional flak added in here. Whereas on the other side, Kuba is trying to recover back to where they once were. Well, that's not what you want your Magna Beam to do. Okay, so this does look like they're intended to go with some form of style point. That was close. That was very close. The shotgun clearing up some of the MGs, but those MGs will be online before the next howitzer comes around. So what the plan is for Team Die Salzwerke is they're going to be hitting the front of Spaghetti's base with the Magna Beam and trying to shoot the cannons below, only to get sucked back up into the core by the Magna Beam. That's the plan. They're not going straight through the front door. They're trying to go around everything. And just, I mean, they're going for the lucky shot. It can be done. I'm just kind of surprised that we're not seeing much action on those cannons, you know, just constantly. And then also trying for the lucky shot. These are not mutually exclusive. One nuke makes it, and the second nuke makes it. That's a lot of damage. More accurately, it's a lot of repair bill. If this Magna Beam gets sniped, that could be an even bigger repair bill. It doesn't get sniped, but it does. Okay, and he does full sell it off. So we won't be seeing the Magna Beam trick, the style shot here, at least not for a while. And so I'm hoping that we'll see a lot more damage output from Team Die Salzwerke generally. Still using the laser as anti-air, just to guarantee the nuke is shot down. You love to see it. But will the cannons sing? Because every minute they spend delaying and trying to play fancy is another minute that Team Fanfalinci gets an opportunity to come back in this game. Or at least to get ahead in this game. They're not exactly terribly far behind, if the whole nukes landing thing wasn't a dead giveaway of that. Does look like Team Die Salzwerke is just going straight through the front door, and it shows. Immediately, just an alpha strike from Team Die Salzwerke just breaks through Spaghetti's front and takes out tech, like going completely through, taking out internals, like important internals. And Spaghetti, the upper base for the blue team here on the left, is not long for this world. Unless something changes, those cannons are going to reload and will penetrate through what little armor remains in front of his core. Oh, look at that. Just barely missing the core, taking out Eco behind. Pre-fired shotgun almost takes out the nuke, but the flak finishes it off. Yeah, at this point, Team Die Salzwerke just has overwhelming firepower compared to Team Fanflinchi. They tried to get fancy and end it with style points. Fanflinchi didn't let that happen, and now they're suffering the consequences, which is getting cannoned out of this round. Now, of course, there are still 2 nukes and a pair of swarm missiles, so Fanflinci's not out of this. Not even close to out of this. The amount of times we've had game-winning shots out of just a drunk nuke out of nowhere is ridiculous. That's just the normal state of nukes. But it won't be happening this time. As Spaghetti's core is knocked out. So all that's left is, well, Team Fanflinchi. So remember, co-op on death is enabled for the Forts Pro League, and with it, well, both players are now controlling what was once just Kuba's base. I think he's trying to no, it's just a sniper position. I was about to say, you're really trying to expand back to that top position, which, while would be lovely, is a bit wishful thinking in this context, I think. Because all those cannons from Ladura Cannon are going to be slapping back down into Fanflinci's last remaining base. And yeah, the machine gunners, not quite enough to stop the howitzer, and now it's just going to be a lot of cannons. A lot of cannons going straight into Fanflinchi here. Fanflinchi still has plenty of energy shields to stop Hack Tony's energy weapons. Unfortunately, energy shields do very little to stave off the kinetic weapons. And there are a fair few of those around these parts. Appreciate the sniper just trying to knock the howitzer out of the sky, but with that hit, Fanflinci's core is exposed and finished with a light dusting from a shotgun. Team Salzwerke wins round 1. And we're off to round 2, where here we have on the left-hand side is Team Fanflinchi, playing as the Warthog commander. You can expect to see some empowered heavy weapons at the base angle, Spaghetti's base angle. I know he's not going to collapse, but that one's cutting it real close. Whereas they're facing off against their opponents on the right-hand side in the red, it's Team Salzwerke. They're playing it now. This is interesting. So they're playing as the Moonshine Commander. Moonshine Commander, I like it. It's cool. I don't often see it in this matchup. Because Moonshine Commander gives 2 bonuses. The most interesting of the bonuses, at least the more relevant, or the more commonly used bonus, is that all AoE weapons get an EMP effect during Commander active. So you get a lot of cannons is mostly what it's used for, but it does work for things like nukes and such. It's mostly 20mm cannons that get turned into big splashes of EMP, which is very effective at just shutting down an entire base. One of the joys of 20mm, they're too imprecise to hit any one target, and therefore they hit everything. And when everything is made out of EMP, well, your opponent is sad. And so that makes it useful. But additionally, there's another trick you can do with them, because it turns energy shields into energy shield doors, meaning you can just put energy shields on everything, which is, of course, expensive energy-wise, and is most of the reason why we don't see that used much, but it is very useful against anyone who decides to go lasers. And, well, we do have lasers out of Team Fanflinchi, so that's probably going to be very relevant. Looks like they're going with a similar strategy as last time. Looks like it's going to be Nuclear Rush with laser support, which is a very good strategy, comes highly recommended. Whereas Salzwerke is reacting by going double EMP. They're also going with heavy weapons of their own, be 1 laser and 1 cannon. The lasers don't get any notable benefits from the Moonshine Commander. However, just having mixed damage types on the field is an incredibly effective strategy and also comes highly recommended. Especially in this top base, because the top base laser allows you to slice your opponent off the top of their fort and immediately end the game by dropping a core onto the other core. Core on core violence is the fastest way to end the game. It's also almost completely unavoidable, which makes it good. We do see Liduricane expanding to the lower platform, which, much like Spaghetti, is often used, is capable of being used for nukes and is often used for that, but I suspect this is just going to be an extra space to make a giant anti-air wall and then eventually mines, because you can put mines there too. And Liduricane with the cannons, or the cannon heavy tech, is unlikely to be using that space for missile weapons. Might use it as a cannon platform, but it looks like the Liduricane's building his weapon platform above his turbines, which is where I would make them, and is probably the most common place to put that. So we'll see how that goes. Yes, it will be double nuke upgrade. There's no sniper out of Fanfalinci, and with no sniper, it means the EMP is free to rain, and rain it is all over Spaghetti's mines, which doesn't seem like it's much, but it adds up. It adds up real quick. All it takes is a couple hits to slow down your opponent, maybe 10-15 seconds, and I cannot tell you how many times where the difference between win and loss is just 10 seconds. Where it's, oh hey, I got my weapon, we're going for a similar build, and I got my weapon up 10 seconds earlier, and I got the first shot off, which started a death spiral, and that happens sometimes. So you know, in the mirror match, the faster one tends to win. Okay, so we do see all the weapons placed, and we have timings of everything. It looks like Kuba will have the option, potentially, of getting a timing attack here. Kuba with the very fast, or at least the relatively fast, fire beam, can just burn weapons out while they're under construction, although I think he's not planning on that. He's certainly not doing that. One of the benefits of going fire beam first is you can get it constructed and ready to fire while every other heavy weapon in the game is still under construction. This means that you can hit a weapon while it's under construction and not properly defended, and if you hit a heavy weapon while it's under construction, with 2 fire beams, then you just destroy it, because the heavy weapon cannot be repaired while it's under construction. So that is where the timing attack comes in. You get your fire beam, and you just burn all the enemy weapons out of existence before they have the ability to, well, complete. Very effective, usually game-winning style strat, and is not being used here. Instead, he's saving the fire beam to try to burn the anti-air out of the sky, which, you know, well, didn't manage to protect the nuke, but did manage to hit the laser and destroy the laser. So that's cool. Incidental damage there. There's your EMP hit, the cannon applying EMP all over the place. It's not a 20 mil, but, well, just having a standard cannon with EMP effect is quite effective. As you can tell, it shuts down pretty much everything just anywhere near the explosion, which is quite good. It doesn't have the additional raw damage output of something like Fanfalinci's Warthog pick, but honestly, the extra just utility damage, and shutting down your opponent and giving him just a little bit more eco damage, you know, indirectly by virtue of them not generating energy of some sort. It's just good. Like, it's hard to go wrong with that. Shutting down building speed, shutting down technology temporarily, shutting down energy and metal production. It's just generally a good strat and comes highly recommended. Looks like the air is filled with lead and shuts down everything missile-shaped, EMP and nuclear warhead alike. Fire beams not penetrating the metal. So far, no team has suffered immense damage. Many things have been fired, many things have been hit, but all things considered, there's a surprisingly low amount of damage sustained by each team. Oh, the drunk nukes. Oh, now that was concerningly close. They almost made it across the board. And there's another shutdown. And this poor plasma beam unable to come to life. It's only a matter of time before the cannons for Team Die Salzwerke start stacking and becoming lethal amounts of damage output. No fire beam to save the nukes this time. Also, I really like this flag placement back here. It just defends his teammate and nothing else, but it works really well. And it's effectively impossible for Die Salzwerke to do anything about that. It's just like free anti-air defense. Look at that complete shutdown. All those doors, none of them able to be used. So much EMP across the board. I'm not sure what this extrusion is for. This looks like a howitzer catcher, but I don't know what... I'm guessing he's just going to try to use that to catch the nukes as a last-minute ablative armor. Like, slap some sandbags on that just in case Fanfelici aims those nukes for the cannon platform. Oh, it cuts deep! Fire beam, plasma beam. Doesn't quite get to the Duracane's internal structure, but it's close. Look at that. It damages the battery in the internal structure, but doesn't break it. On the other hand, Fanfelici, they just lost their plasma beam. They got door sniped in the process, and that means that Fanfelici is a little low on the damage output. Fanfelici still has the fire beams, and they're just relying on the nukes and using the fire beams as support. So losing the plasma isn't the end of it, but the plasma was their guaranteed damage. And that's... It's not good if you don't have your guaranteed damage. Ooh, and there's the trick shot. Doesn't quite make it. The cannons, they successfully completed the trick shot, and the cannons penetrated around the backside of Getsy's base. It did damage to the core and some internals, but what it didn't do is end the game. They're really looking for that game-ending hit. They just didn't quite get it this time, but this will warn Spaghetti and Fanfelici generally that they're looking for the fancy hit there. And I should expect to see some more defenses out of Fanfelici to defend against such a tactic, but I'm not seeing that. And I'm pretty certain Die Salzwerke notices this and is going to try it again. They don't land it this time. I'm really expecting more defenses out of Team Fanfelici here to prevent that kind of situation. Because you can just kind of hope that your opponents don't make the shot, but that's not a good hope. These aren't tier 3s that have human... that aren't really interactive with your aim. Team Die Salzwerke can just aim better and end the game immediately. And given the caliber of players here, I'm really expecting that to happen shortly. That's just how that works. Oh, and you see, that's better. You see, well, he had enough defenses to sustain one hit from above, but not 2 hits. I was about to say, that's better. Like, Kuba defended. There you go. That's more like it. They're like, okay, alright. Now there was a real threat. Let's stop that from happening. So that fancy trick shot, not going to be ending the game. I strongly suspect it's still possible. It's just unlikely to be ending the game. Those extra defenses cuts off most of the angles that Die Salzwerke would need to actually hit the cores directly. Now, mind you, it could hit other things like these turbines back here, which would be critical damage. It could loop all the way around and hit this battery, which could potentially drop Spaghetti onto the floor. Same kind of thing back here. Kuba is actually a little bit more vulnerable because the cannons can loop all the way around and hit the back of the core. Whereas that's much less likely with Spaghetti's base. Honestly, I want to see the Magnum Beam cannon shot. I want to see the trick shot happen. They've tried for it. They've gotten some damage in. I just want to see it happen. Looks like they're just using the cannons in direct fire, which is likely sufficient to end the game. Frankly, Team Desalzveka has done enough damage to Fanfalinci over the course of the game that it's put Fanfalinci on the back foot. In terms of raw material on the board, Fanfalinci's taken a lot of damage, mostly due to this cannon fire, just kind of whittling away, occasional door snipe and such. Fanfalinci's not defanged, they're just, they don't have the killing power that they need to actually win the game right now. I guess that's not true. Double nuke can just kind of break Desalzveka here, but, I mean, both of these bases are bristling with anti-air of varying kinds. The chances of that happening are very low, even with the fire beam support. My question is, how are Desalzveka? Didn't line that up. Didn't line that up. This is not sufficient. You need to have metal or more dense bracing here. If that Magna Beam hits this again and the cannons loop around, that could be the end of Cuba. And these have been replaced with background bracing, so those are no longer sufficient defenses to defend the core. New clans. Sniper follows up. I like seeing the sniper chaser rounds just clean up everything that gets exposed by the big area of effect hits. And there it is. Interestingly enough, it was actually a direct fire cannon. The other cannon rounds just kind of went up into the behind. But a direct fire cannon penetrated Spaghetti's defenses and went toward the core. Not enough to break anything, at least not enough to break the core. But did leave a gap in the defenses, large enough for flak projectiles to kind of tickle the core a bit more. Looks like Kuba's managed to get the plasma beam back online and graciously let the Durricane know about it by, well, burning a hole through the front of his fort. Here comes another volley. No longer going for the trick shot so much as just merging the cannon shells into the front of Spaghetti's base, which is very effective. So you don't have to worry about merging your cannons and the general imprecision of them. Not that they're exceptionally imprecise weapons, but they're extremely precise weapons if they are all forced to hit the exact same spot. Oh. Oh, that's an angle. I didn't see that one coming, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, Spaghetti's got to stop that just immediately. Like, that can't be allowed. Are they still going for the trick shot? Are they still doing that? Okay. I think they really want it. I think they want it real bad. Oh, a beautiful shot. Just snipes out both of those swarm launchers. That's painful. Just another moment of Fanfalinci losing critical material. Uh-oh. Oh, that was close. Oh, that was so close. It was literally so close that the explosion still damaged Tony's base. That was incredibly close. That wouldn't have been lethal, but that certainly would have set back Desalzveka some notable amount. Massive hit. I was about to say, it didn't break Kuba there, but it did break through the armor. And, well, another follow-up shot breaks more of Kuba's weapons. Kuba's just having a real rough time of this. Every time he gets his weapons up and then just gets punched back to the Dark Ages. Like, at this point, it's 3 cannons and not much more. It's 3 cannons and a plasma laser. So, Team Desaltsfolk is not going incredibly hard on the damage output, but they are still slowly expanding, whereas Fanfalinci is struggling to expand because every time they do, they just get cannoned. They just lose something important. They just lose a chunk of their base every time they try to expand and add more to their base. At least Spaghetti got his oh. I was about to say, at least Spaghetti got his heavy weapons tech back online, because he's able to place a fire beam now, but again, with the cannons going straight to the core. I am genuinely surprised that the cannons didn't manage to hit the plasma laser production facility again. And that tech is... that was so close. It's turning into a very slow whittling away of Team Fanfalinci. This right here might be Fanfalinci's opportunity to come back in this game. Just a fire beam, plasma beam from that angle could do some devastating damage. Just blow through this. At least get some work toward... oh no. That's a big hit. Oh, that's it. And it all comes crumbling down. Kuba collapses. There's not much left here. All those batteries are in front. And it collapses. Yeah, that was wishful thinking. They tried for it, but it's not going to work out for them. Well, now we can safely put an energy beam there, energy shield there to protect the core, but it does not defend against cannons, and there are lots of cannons incoming right now. Nor does it protect against EMPs, and there are also a lot of EMPs incoming. They're facing a commander whose sole thing is EMP, and with a shotgun to finish it, that's it. Team Desaltsfolk wins this best of 3 in a clean sweep.